when we are underwriting stages, whatever process we are before we put the property under contract, before we make our offer, we have got to be able to identify personality types too. This is like a huge thing. Like when I think about what I do, I am a therapist sometimes, but like we've got to be really able to identify certain personality types, the way that people are speaking, the things that they're saying, the way that they're saying them. When we are presenting offers to an analytical person, we might want to be a little bit more thorough with explaining how we got to our numbers, right? But I'm not going to do that with somebody that's more emotional, right? Somebody that just is, maybe they're upset, maybe they've lost somebody, maybe they're overwhelmed and they're just looking for somebody to come in and listen and understand what they're going through and present them with the right solution. There are cases where I don't even need to make an offer sometimes. Somebody just tells me a price and it's reasonable and maybe I'll haggle with them a little bit, but those really emotional, high motivation sellers oftentimes don't care about price really at all. Some of them may not think that they have anything in it. Some of them think that they're just going to lose their house to foreclosure and they don't really care. And we show up with a solution that solves their problem, that stops their foreclosure, that puts a couple bucks in their pockets and helps them move on, and will help them moving expenses or refer them to somebody that can help them find an apartment or place to go or a shelter or somewhere that they can move and be for the next whatever their timeline is. So understanding these personality types is a key factor, and that's really not in these slides. I don't believe I realized as I was reading through them before we started here. So what we really want to be thinking about is making confident offers. We talked about underwriting in the last training or two, right? We talked about how we come up with our offers. We've got an offer that we're confident in. Now we switch back to Mr. and Mrs. Seller, let me explain how this solution is going to solve your problem. Price is the last thing I want to talk about. Obviously, at some point, we're going to have to talk about the price. They may or may not be okay with that. But we were always going back to, well, yeah, but you told me about this certain problem. And it feels to me like the solution that I'm presenting you with is going to solve that problem. Do you agree? And we just got to keep going back to that and continue to build their confidence that our ability to solve that problem is better than everybody else's. And we do that with confidence ourselves in our offer, confidence in our process, clear communication, being on time. All these little things add up to a winning offer. It's not the price most of the times, especially with the people that we want to be doing business with. Somebody that's highly driven by price is probably not the right seller anyways. You're probably dealing with likely somebody that wants retail. Not always, but the highly motivated seller is much more concerned with their problem being solved than price. So to that point, the offer should feel like relief for them. They're like, oh, this sounds great. You're gonna let me stay in the house for 30 days. You're gonna close in 10 days. You're gonna, whatever their problem is, we're just checking the boxes. And we're gonna remind them of that when we're presenting our offer too. We've checked all these boxes. You told me you had all of these issues, and here's how we're gonna solve all these things. And then at the end, here's the price that we're willing to pay to do that. Does that sound fair? So again, we've got to ask the questions up front. We can't wait until we've presented our offer and they see the number to start asking these questions, because then we've already lost. There is going to be a higher offer. There is going to be somebody else that is asking these questions that they're going to go with. These are the motivation questions. What has you thinking about selling? I always like to say, catch me up to speed. What's going on? How soon do you need this problem, X problem, to be solved? What happens if you don't solve X problem? This is a huge one. What I like to say with this question is, it sounds like to me if you didn't solve this problem in the next 30 days, that wouldn't be a big deal to you, right? Something like that. No. I have to get out of this place. And then something like, what's important to you in this process, or what would make this process easier for you? What are some fears? That's another one. What are some fears you have about selling to a cash buyer versus just putting the property on the market and listing it with an agent? right? These are all the questions that we ask to get them. And this is like layer one. Layer two would be, well, how long has this been going on? Tell me more about that. What other issues is this causing in your life, right? We got to dig in. These are just like the baseline questions that we ask to get them to start opening up about what their real problems are. And this is just like rapport building stuff too, but this is the piece that gets people to accept our offer that may be 10 or 20,000 below the other offers that they've gotten, right? We're showing that we care. We're showing that we understand what they're going through, what challenges they're facing. I hesitate to, I mentioned this earlier, but I hesitate to over-explain my numbers. I like to be transparent with somebody. If somebody's asking me, like I said, if I've got an analytical seller that really cares about the numbers and why I came to my number, I'll dig in and I'll, explain to them my thoughts on whatever repairs are needed and how much that's going to cost and how much the money is going to cost me to buy this house. Because we all know, like, very few investors out there just have $1 million in cash in the bank, right? We all use private money. That costs money. Closing costs money. Cost of sale costs money. Risk is a factor, right? What happens if I buy this house and then it turns off or something, changes? Or God forbid there's some sort of catastrophic event. Now I'm stuck with, all these properties that I own that I was thinking I was going to be selling in the next 3 months, right? That's real. We've got to take in risk and profit. I've got to be able to make some money here too. Like, this is a business for me. So I'll dig in and I'll be very transparent. I'm transparent with everything else. My numbers are transparent, right? Here's what I need to make in this scenario. And I'll tell them, like, is it 20 grand? Is it 30 grand? Depends on our average assignment fee is 30,000. So it gives me a little bit of wiggle room too. They say, well, I see that you're making 30,000 here. Would you do whatever, 10 grand less? Sure. Like, I'm not greedy, but like, we've got certain goals and numbers that we're trying to hit too. And then again, how we present our offer is extremely important, right? We want to present ourselves as the easiest solution to their problem. These other guys, they're going to run you around. They might give you another 20 grand or 30 grand or whatever, but let me tell you what's going to happen. They're going to come back to you in 2 weeks and they're going to say, well, because of X, Y, and Z thing, I can't pay you what I told you I was going to pay. I'm going to have to pay it what I'm telling you I can pay. And I see it more often than not. And a lot of people will lock people into those situations too, and they'll hold them accountable. Unlike the situation I was explaining with Alex either, they'll hold their feet to the fire. They'll threaten to sue them. They'll threaten to take them to court. Like, that shit happens, and it's, unfortunate, again, part of our business, but like, those people are out there. I see it like almost weekly with people that I talk to. And sometimes it's people that took somebody else's offer instead of mine. But what I'm always trying to impress upon people is we're not like everybody else. When I give you my number, unless there's something that we're missing here in title or with the condition of the property that has not been disclosed to me, like, the number that I'm giving you is going to be the number that's going to be on the settlement statement when we go to closing in 2 weeks or 21 days or whatever their time is. So I'm just continuing to reiterate how we do business, how our solution is going to be easy. Please go read my reviews and see what other people have said about doing business with us. And then, I think a lot of people are afraid, and even sometimes I've struggled with this and sometimes I still forget to do it, but asking at the end of your presenting of all of this information and your offer, does this sound like something that would work for you? Or what are the next steps? Or, asking for the decision at the end and not being afraid to do it. It's like, hey, I don't want to waste your time or my time. If all this sounds good to you, would you be willing to move forward at the end of this? You could set that expectation up front. If we're able to solve X, Y, and Z problem and close in 21 days, like you said, and give you the 30 days rent back, is there anything besides price that would prevent you from moving forward with us? Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe there's something that we missed. Before we go and put all our cards on the table with price, we want to try and get some buy-in from them too, that they trust us and that they're willing to work with us. And they might not like our price after that. And, like I said, I want to make an offer that I'm confident in. So maybe there's a little bit of wiggle room for me. Maybe we can make something work, or maybe we could transition to innovation or some kind of creative deal after that. One of the reasons why I don't like going overboard with explaining my numbers and how I got to them and trying to over explain, because I'm worried that they're going to think that I'm lowballing them or whatever. I don't want to confuse them with a bunch of stuff that's not really relevant if it's not relevant, right? We never want to talk too much. We never want to talk too fast at somebody. We don't want to overcomplicate it. We certainly don't want to get defensive when they tell us that we don't like our price. And this is another thing that's not in here, but it just popped into my head. Using real examples or storytelling is super powerful when we're presenting and we're negotiating offers. And that's one of the ways that I like to kind of counteract this multiple offer situation. I've already talked about it with other wholesalers that are giving higher numbers or locking people up at, crazy prices. And well, I've already got an offer at $200,000. Okay, well, I know this market and I know the condition of the property, and I know for sure that they're not going to be able to sell this deal for $225,000 or $230,000 and make what they think they're going to make. And so I like to use storytelling as an example when it comes to price. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I understand that you've got an offer that's $30,000 over my offer, but let me tell you a story about John, a guy that I was working with last month. John took an offer from another investor that was $30,000 than my offer. John then got dragged out for 3 weeks by these other buyers until finally they negotiated so far that they were below the price that I had offered. Subsequently, John canceled the contract with those people because he felt that they were being dishonest. They felt that he was being lied to throughout the process. They kept telling him that they were bringing in this contractor and that contractor. And I told John from the beginning that was the likely scenario. And John called me back, and he was very appreciative that I kept communication with him. And now John and I closed on his property, 2 weeks ago. Good storytelling with examples of these types of situations will take you really far.